This conference will now be recorded.
All right, so today is Wednesday, March 10th, and as always, everything that we're going to be talking about today is for educational purposes only, and nothing is intended as any type of investment advice. So we got a bunch of stuff that's going on. It's kind of interesting because I know you guys probably have a ton of different stories and a ton of different things, but I am basically looking at things in just the way of a trade. I mean, nothing else really matters. So it's kind of interesting. Even some of our everyday stocks definitely liking a bit today. So let's talk about NIO first. The reason I bring up NIO first is just because it's got the best show of hand by far. Now, if we take a look over here, the ask prints that came in at 43, just a bit over print personality. And then we can see as we came back up, we did hit 43 a few more times. Now, the one thing to look at is we are getting a little bit of shorter term prints coming back into there, but that's fine because basically what that's telling us is a nice little push to get above that 43 level. And then we're kind of in that measured move. So essentially, after we get to pretty much about that 43.50, I'm going to be looking for a nice fat trigger towards that downside. We got a lot of room to go. One of the greatest variables that we do have here, 42.50, not an easy level to hold. And because it just jumped past it on high volume, we really didn't get that many prints coming into there. So it would be a perfect time for after those huge ask prints coming in at 43 to bring it back down underneath that 42.50 in order to build. Obviously, our price target is going to be looking right around that 42.22. 42.50, we do have to pay attention very closely, but because of that print line sitting there at that 42.22, we do have a little bit more room towards that downside. So after we kind of start to see these shorter term prints coming in on the ask side, gonna be, like I said, looking for that really nice trigger down to satisfy number one trade all the way based off of how many prints we have there at that 43 level. Now, next thing we're looking at is ENVB. So obviously this has been a hot stock coming into the morning, but one thing that we do have to remind ourselves is that, first of all, that the buying has been good, but it hasn't been as great for a stock that's moved from $3 to $2.50 coming into the pre-market. Another thing we have to think about is that 5 level is not an easy thing to be able to hold. So we have some decent buying at 550 for this thing to be able to come back to, but there's just a lot more building that's to come in. It just really never got the chance to really build at those levels, and we can kind of see based off of hitting that 550 so many times, we're coming back down to satisfy breaking underneath the ask prints that we did have at that 5 level. So this is going to be one of those ones where we really could see it just completely die out based off of the fact that it's just been basic, money time pretty much the entire morning. Has been following the rules very well, though. So at the same time, we do have the buying up here. It's just not as high percentage because we didn't really get just that constant buying over and over again. We do have some nice prints that came in over the 550 as well, around that 560 area. So there definitely is potential back towards the upside. It's just going to need a real strong trigger. We're going to be looking for something. If it happens during the pre-market, somewhere in that 450,000 share range. And then if we, once the market opens, we're going to be expecting some big volume to come out of this. Just be careful. Like I said, if we don't break past below that 5 and we get a really nice move coming into the beginning of the market, just think short time frame more than likely is going to be pretty short because we're going to end up having to come back down to satisfy those ask prints that never really pulled back from. Next thing we're looking at is CETX. So I like CETX, especially because of the fact that there are shares available. Unfortunately, the first time that I tried, I went a little bit too heavy in it. I did get denied, but then I was able to get a couple. So coming back down to that 3 level, we do have bids. It is kind of mixed, and obviously because of the fact that it's been sitting at that level of consolidation, we know that somebody is there very strong that's been building. But from what we can see, definitely looking like we're building back towards that downside. We have that gap coming back down to 167, which is always a great variable to add into things. But definitely going to want to see a little bit more selling coming into that 3. We've had, like I said, we've had some decent, but just not really anything to really show us that release yet. Based off what we're seeing so far, just a lot of consolidation. So it wouldn't be shocking once the market opens to kind of just stay in that consolidation for a little bit before it really chooses where we're looking to break out. But based off of what we have in that consolidation, money flow is definitely telling us a lot more selling than anything else. Next thing looking at is COSS. So, KOSS. So KOSS, make sure that you go out there and you look for shares. We pulled up, jumped up above that 30. Unfortunately, didn't see the prints that happened at that 30, but we've just been trending down the entire time. Only problem here is that there really aren't any, great prints that we've seen coming in. You have 25.50 and a little bit, but really going to need some type of better show of hand. But based on what we can see so far, in volume as well as range. Definitely going to be looking for, for some type of show of hand to come in here. And because of how big the range is already showing, we definitely have a lot of room one way or the other. Just hasn't shown us which way yet. It's just basically been trending towards the downside, but not on really any type of strong print. So even though it's got every variable that we need for our list, we need that show of hand before we're going to make any type of game plan and decide what we're going to be looking for it to do. Next thing looking at is TLRY. So TLRY obviously shortable as well. We pushed into that 28. We did not hit. We triggered down. We've just been kind of a little bit of floating around. We have a couple of bids that came in at that 27 level that we're kind of sitting there around right now. But again, with a stock like this, I'm going to want to see a bigger show of hands to come into this thing before I really make any type of real decisions coming in. Having the best prints that we have so far being, four bid prints at 27, just isn't going to be enough, especially volume 2.2 million shares already. If it wants to, it can definitely print more than that. So overall, definitely going to be a mover today. It's just going to be a matter of getting that show of hand to come in. And that's pretty much, same thing with CAN. CAN, I liked what we saw when we were coming back up. 33 had a little bit of buying, but just not enough here. A few prints definitely do go a very long way. You can see the range is pretty big in comparison. I know it looks like yesterday, $8.97. So we know that this thing is definitely in kind of in a hot phase. Right now, a lot of people looking at it based off of how big that we did see it move yesterday, but we're going to need to see something a little bit better because at 33, we have a couple asks, and then we have a couple bid that came in afterwards. So again, very nice. It's got a lot of potential, but we need to see something better coming into this before we make that definitive game plan. And that is pretty much it from what I can see. Now, we have a few other things out there. Obviously, Riot and Mara are moving very well this morning. Not on the greatest volume at all, but they definitely are moving. SOS had some ass prints at 7. I mean, there's definitely some other stuff that's moving, but based off of what I'm seeing so far, this is for our new stocks out there. Definitely are, our best list. Now, anything else out there that I missed? Anything? Oh, EXLA, obviously. I'm sorry, I didn't write that down, but I was looking at it before. Okay, so the thing with the EXLA is that it's been a bit mixed. We came down that first time coming into that 6 level. We did get some really nice bid prints that came back there. We kind of pulled up towards that 550 level. I got some decent buying at that 650 level, and then we're kind of pulling back from there. So I wouldn't be shocked to see this thing get back up to 7. Unfortunately, I didn't see earlier this morning with the ask prints at 7, but I have to assume there was some type of buying before that sell-off kind of came back in. We have been getting some real nice prints in here. On that buy side, even though it does have those bids at 650, because the bids first that came in at 6 brought us up to that 650, but then the buying at 650 told us that after this pullback, we still have more room towards that upside. So absolutely, that is on our list. We're going to be looking, well, like I said, more towards that upside first before we would end up coming back down underneath that 6 level. All right, so I think that is it. I am so excited to be back. I mean, I feel like I have not traded in forever. It's been about 2 weeks now, but obviously I'm going to be here all day. I'll be here all week. Other than that, guys, let's get ready for our morning. I know class is pretty much 2 weeks ago, but let's make sure we're focused on everything that we've learned over our classes and we make the right decisions, our high probability trades. I will talk to everybody in the chat, and happy trading.